Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and welcome back to the show. Today is episode 63 of the show, and today is probably going to be my most, I'd say, controversial, but probably most heavily weighted episode because of the topic and its seriousness and the ramifications that come because of it. I am well aware that this topic is very, very politically charged. I'm going to say this now. I understand that this is a very politically charged situation. I'm not going to pretend it isn't, because there's no reason for me to pretend that it isn't politically charged, because it's so woven in with politics that it's messy. Now, granted, I think there truly is a right and this wrong situation. I truly believe there is a right and a wrong. But I think overarching idea that I want you guys to understand is, from my aspect and where I stand on it, I personally believe that politics should have nothing in gaming. There should be no politics in gaming at all. None. Gaming is entertainment for a reason. Let it be entertainment. Let people escape from the real world. Don't bring in real life politics, and stop mixing politics with games. It is not good. It's not healthy. It just causes division, and it just makes things worse. That's my stance on this from the get-go. And that's kind of how I viewed this entire situation, which obviously this is referring to the whole Blizzard and the Chinese censorship going on, which, oh boy, I'm definitely not going to be allowed in China anytime soon. I probably won't because of this, but it to me, it's just it's a very bad situation. It really is. It's not only is it ethically wrong, but it's also hypocritical on Blizzard's part, and we'll get into it. So what actually happened? So I think the easiest way to describe this entire situation and give some backbone to it is what's going on between China and Hong Kong. So obviously there's been protesting going on for Hong Kong for a while now, and the protesting has been involved with Hong Kong keeping its liberty and sovereignty, obviously, from mainland China, because they don't want to be associated with mainland China. And obviously China is making some moves to, I'd say, maybe take them back by, I think the easiest way to put it is take them back by force. Well, not by force, but they're making moves to try to force Hong Kong to be part of mainland China, even though Hong Kong wants to remain sovereign and wants to keep its independence. And to me, it's just very messed up, especially because this bleeds into so much, especially because, we're talking about the Chinese government, and I get it. It's a very hard thing. And it started to boil over. I'd say even before all of this, it really started to boil over a bit too. This happened when Rainbow Six Siege a while back. There was an update that they did where when they released the game in China, they had to censor anything revolving skulls, alcohol, obscene images of women, and they had to just remove that from the game from all versions, not just the Chinese version. They did it for all versions. Now, granted, I will say this. The community gave Ubisoft hell for it, and they realized, okay, we'll keep the Chinese version with those things removed, and then we'll put them back for the everybody else, because fair game, and that's what should have happened. And this past weekend, really, because it says that the statement was put on October 12th. That what happened was that a Hearthstone's player, if I'm saying his name correctly, Blitz Chung, if I'm correct, was obviously winning the tournament, because very skilled player. He won the tournament, so just hands down, just saying that up front, he won the tournament without any issue. He won. And during the end of it, he said a statement that, if I'm correct, I couldn't translate it correctly, And I know people have translated, but if I'm going, it says, this freedom for Hong Kong, this is the revolution of our lives. And obviously they cut away from him immediately after he finished that, and the broadcasters were trying to hide themselves so that they wouldn't, pretend like, we didn't know that he was going to do that. And obviously Blizzard released a statement that they ended up, they suspended Blitzchung for an entire year of competition, so he can't compete for a whole year, and they took away his prize money. And this is the statement. So obviously this is from Blizzard, so I'm going to be reading through this statement. I'll be skipping over some parts that are, I'd say, very obvious, or I wouldn't say obvious, but I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can see what the actual statement was. So it says, "Hello, Blizzard community. I want to take a few minutes to talk to all of you about the Hearthstone Grandmasters tournament this past weekend. On Monday, we made the decision to take action against a player named Blitzchung and 2 shoutcasters after the player shared his views on what's happening in Hong Kong on our official broadcast channel. At Blizzard, our vision is to, quotation marks, to bring the world together through epic entertainment. And we have core values that apply here. Think globally, lead responsibly, and importantly, every voice matters, and encouraging everybody to share their point of view. The actions that we took over the weekend are causing people to question if we are still committed to these values. We absolutely are, and I will explain." So, going through that, this is where it says, our esports programs are an expansion of our vision and values. Esports exists to create opportunities for players from around the world, from different cultures, and from different backgrounds to come together to compete and share their passion for gaming. It is extremely important to us to protect these channels and the purpose they serve, to bring the world together through epic entertainment, celebrate our players, and build diverse and inclusive communities. Now, as for how these values apply in this case, they give, I think it's a total of 3 examples. So we'll read through those quickly. First, our official esports tournament broadcast was used as a platform for a winner of this event to share his views with the world. We interview competitors who are at the top of their craft to share how they feel. We want to experience that moment with them. Hearing their excitement is a powerful way to bring us together. Over the weekend, Blitzchung used this segment to make a statement about the situation in Hong Kong. In violation of rules he acknowledged and understood, and this is why we took action. I will say BS to that, and I'll get to that shortly. Every voice matters, and we strongly encourage everyone in our community to share their viewpoint in the many places available to express themselves. However, the official broadcast needs to be about the tournament and to be a place where all are welcome. In support of that, we want to keep the official channels focused on gaming. I find that very ironic that Blizzard made that statement, yet they have no rule in place that is strictly saying that. Because the only rule they have is and this is what the quartering talked about it when he went over it, that it's a very loose rule that can be applied it's such a very unstraight rule that it just beats around the bush. And it's funny to me that Blizzard does this and they condemn this player for sharing something that's very tame. It didn't offend anybody's feeling. Like, nobody got offended. Like, if you got offended by that, I'm sorry, but that's tame. That's super tame in terms of political commentary. That's super tame. And we know how people can get crazy with politics. Like, I'm not going to stand here and pretend like people can't get crazy. Like, I don't like messing with politics. I stay out of that because I know how crazy that gets. But let's continue. Second, what is the role of shoutcasters for these broadcasts? We hire shoutcasters to amplify the excitement of the game. They elevate the watchability and help the esports viewing experience stay focused on the tournament and our amazing players. Okay. Third, were our actions based on the content of the message? Oh, this is going to be rich. Part of thinking globally, leading responsibly, and every voice matters is recognizing that we have players and fans in almost every country in the world. Our goal is to help players connect in areas of commonality, like their passion for our games, and create a sense of a shared community. The specific views expressed by Blitzchung were not a factor in the decision we made. BS. I want to be clear. Our relationship in China had no influence on this decision. BS. I'm counting bull on that one. That's so bull, and we all know it is. We have these rules in place to keep the focus on the game. No, you don't. And on the tournament to the benefit of a global audience. And that was the only consideration in the actions we took. No, it wasn't. That's obviously been disproven. If this had been an opposing viewpoint delivered in the same divisive and deliberate way, we would have felt and acted the same way. No, you wouldn't have. No, I highly doubt it. I like how they say it's not a factor in the decision when clearly it is. And you even mentioned your relationship with China. So the way it works, based on my understanding of what I've been reading up on this entire situation, is that in order to do business in China, you have to let a Chinese company own a portion of your company. So Blizzard, their 5% of their company is owned by a Chinese company called Tencent. And if you guys aren't familiar with who Tencent are, they actually are the ones that 100% own Riot Games. So Tencent owns Riot Games, and obviously Riot Games makes League of Legends. So yeah. And obviously this is bled over because League of Legends is now in a situation as well where one of their teams, if I'm correct, it's the I don't know if it's the Hong Kong Alliance. Let me check that real quick. I'm just checking that up. Yeah, because that, to me, that's going to be interesting to see. League of Legends, Hong Kong Attitude. There we go. Hong Kong Attitude. They have now been censored to only be announced as the HKA because they're not allowed to say Hong Kong on broadcast anymore, which makes sense when you're 100% owned by a Chinese company. I kind of see why they wouldn't want you to say anything. To me, it's kind of the same thing. I've been on Blizzard's grill for this entire time because they have no specific rule in place. And I'm not defending Blizzard on this because if they would have had that rule in place, nobody would be mad. Like, I understand there were people that would be upset, but there were already clear rules in place that strictly say, look, we don't want politics mixed in with our games. Stick to gaming, stick to this idea of community, inclusive, and then exclusive. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, make it obvious. Don't make a very vague rule that can be loosely interpreted and loosely implied and just randomly used whenever you feel like it. And this is true. Keep this in mind. Blizzard, as much as they say it wasn't because of his political views, it clearly was. Clearly. Like, I know Angry Joe had a fun time with this entire situation because he's like, I bet the Chinese are like, bro, what did he say? Take him down. I was like, oh my. Like, yeah, they're definitely not going to have their videos not going in China. This episode's probably not going to be in China at all. But I still stand by the assumption, or really, I still stand firm to my belief that politics have nothing to do with gaming. You should not mix politics and gaming together because it gets really ugly and it ruins that inclusive feeling to make people feel welcome, to bring people together, because you're just dividing people because of politics, which are dumb. And if you don't believe me, it's funny that Blizzard did this, yet they're so heavily involved in the political conversation. Let's bring up Overwatch. What have they been doing with Overwatch that hasn't screamed politically charged messages this entire time? Like, you obviously made Tracer an LGBTQ character, and then you also made Soldier 76 an LGBTQ character. Now, keep in mind that these characters, I believe they are still censored in China, which is funny. That Blizzard's own political messages have been censored in China because China doesn't want to deal with that. But it's so interesting to me that Blizzard is so heavily actively involved in politics. Like, they're not hiding their involvement, yet they get on this character's case for saying something that was so tame, and realistically, nobody got offended. Like, nobody's offended by this. Like, nobody. Like, who cares? Like, obviously, I understand the significance of his message. I wholeheartedly understand, and it's to me, it's baffling that Blizzard decided to cave in and allow Chinese censorship rules to apply to the U.S. And this is a very scary thing if you think about it, because this is an American company applying Chinese censorship rules to the American public. That's very scary. Like, I need you to keep in mind how scary that is. Like, and if you don't believe me, let's use the NBA as an example. The NBA recently, the GM of the Houston Rockets, he came out in support of the Hong Kong protesters, and immediately he got belittled by the NBA. Like, they disowned this man. Like, it's so bad how bad they disowned this man. Like, it was terrible. Like, they made him retract his statement, and they made him file a new statement saying, oh, my opinion was wrong. I was uneducated and uninformed about the topic. And then you have LeBron James come out and call people uninformed about the situation with the Hong Kong protesters. Like, really? Like, I love LeBron. I love the king. I think the king is the king for a reason. But LeBron, really, man? Really? Like, you advocate for social justice. You advocate for all these things, yet you cave in because of the Chinese billions. Like, and this is what happened with Blizzard and any company that allows this to happen, is you're literally caving in because you want that Chinese billions and you don't want to risk that money. Because the NBA is huge in China. It's huge. It has a lot of viewership, a lot of advertisers from China. And I get it. They don't want to mess with their bottom line. But, you know, ethically it's wrong, because you're basically telling the American public, hey, you're not allowed to have your freedom of speech because this other country doesn't like what you're saying, and we're going to censor you, even though that's clearly in violation of the First Amendment. To me, that is disgusting. That's disgusting. On the highest degree, that is disgusting that companies are choosing to cave in to the Chinese billions or millions, billion, whatever. They're choosing to cave into that Chinese yen, or I'm not going to say yen, that Chinese yuan? Yeah, it's yuan. There we go. The Chinese yuan, and just cave into all that Chinese money. Like, I have nothing against the Chinese. I don't. I have nothing against them, but I will say this entire situation is very disgusting. It is very, very distasteful. It's very, like, it's ethically wrong. It really is. Like, if you think about it, this is ethically wrong, because you're implying, or not really implying, you're basically saying that, oh, just because this other country doesn't agree with your views, we're going to censor you, even though their rules have nothing, they have no jurisdiction over you. And now all of a sudden they do. Like Blitzchung, like, he shared his views. Okay, he wants to share his views. Blizzard, you can't get on his grill because you have already shared your views publicly and on your own platform and streams. You've already broken your own rule. Are you going to ban yourselves now or suspend yourselves? No, you're not. You're just loosely interpreting this rule that you're not even following. You're just bending it to when you feel like it's appropriate to use it. You don't believe me? Yes, that's 100% true. Like, you can't get on Blitzchung. You can't get on his grill for all of this. You cannot get on his grill for just that super tame comment. And then you proceed to be actively political on your own streams, on your own platforms. And the second somebody uses your platform to say an opinion that you may not agree with because it hurts your bottom line, you instantly suspend them and take away his money. Now, granted, I believe they have returned his money, and they also lowered his suspension. Keep in mind, they said they lowered the suspension. They didn't get rid of it. They actually lowered it to 6 months. That, to me, that's like, wow. Like, just wow. I get it. You gave him his money back, but 6 months still, bro? Come on. Really? Like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, you have got to be kidding me for that BS. Like, that's unacceptable. Like, it's so unacceptable. And I just can't even begin to fathom the logic that is being thrown out the window in this entire situation. I just can't fathom. Like, I can't fathom it. Like, my brain cannot wrap around this level of, like, I'd say stupidity. It's so baffling. And it's all because there was no rule clearly in place to say, hey, no politics in gaming. That applies to us, not only as the gamers, that applies to the company. That rule should be in place to make sure that none of this happens. Now, granted, if somebody breaks the rule, then yes, this entire situation, if that rule was in place, fair game. You get what I mean? Like, fair game. If Blizzard didn't do anything in politics, they didn't actively share politics, or they didn't actively engage in it, and one of their players decides to do that, hey, this would be a totally different situation. And I'm not saying just because this happened that I wouldn't do the same thing the other way around. No, I would criticize a player if they did that. If the rules were already in place that the company is following, no politics in gaming, we're not going to actively share our beliefs. We can have our beliefs, but we're not going to actively share them. We're going to, focus on the gaming, enjoy the entertainment, because this is entertainment. And a player decides to be political, then that player has what's coming to him. It's fair because the rules were already in place. But the fact that the rule that is in place is so vague and can be so loosely used is very dangerous, because this is an example of hypocrisy. This is pure hypocrisy. There's no way around it. And if I'm continuing to look at what let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. So this is another part of the Blizzard statement that they made. Okay, what could Blizzard have done better, and where do we go from here? Over the past few days, many players, casters, esports fans, and employees have expressed concerns about how we determine the penalties. We've had a chance to pause, to listen to our community, and reflect on what we could have done better. In hindsight, our process wasn't adequate, and we reacted too quickly. We want to ensure that we maintain a safe and inclusive environment for all players, and that our rules and processes are clear. Yeah, no duh. All of this is in service of another important Blizzard value: play nice, play fair. In the tournament itself, Blitzchung played, quotation marks, fair. We now believe he should receive his prizing. We understand that for some, this is not about the prize, and perhaps for others, it is disrespectful to even discuss it. That is not our intention. But playing fair also includes appropriate pre- and post-match conduct, especially when a player accepts recognition for winning in a broadcast. When we think about the suspension, 6 months for Blitzchung is more appropriate. No, it isn't. He shouldn't have been banned to begin with, after which time he can compete in the Hearthstone's pro circuit again if he so chooses, which I hope he does, but after this, bro, I get why people are boycotting Blizzard so much. There is a consequence for taking the conversation away from the purpose of the event and disrupting or derailing the broadcast. I don't know how he disrupted or derailed it, but okay. With regard to the casters, remember their purpose is to keep the event focused on the tournament. That didn't happen here, and we are setting their suspension to 6 months as well. Moving forward, we will continue to apply tournament rules to ensure our official broadcasts remain focused on the game and are not a platform for divisive social or political values. Oh Lord. One of our goals at Blizzard is to make sure that every player everywhere in the world, regardless of political views, religious beliefs, race, gender, or any other consideration, always feels safe and welcome, both competing and playing our games. At Blizzard, we are always listening and finding ways to improve. BS. It is a part of our culture. BS. Thank you for your patience with us as we continue to learn. To me, no, Blizzard, no. You clearly haven't. And I understand why people are furious with Blizzard. And the fact that this entire situation actually is happening a week before BlitzCon is going to be funny to witness what happened. I guarantee you there's going to be mountains of protesters outside of BlitzCon protesting this. Like, people are going to be inside, they're going to be protesting, and Blizzard is just asking for a nightmare this year at BlizzCon. Like, last year was bad because of the whole Diablo Immortal thing. Now, this year is over political tensions, and it's like I said, Blizzard's hypocrisy. It's a double-edged sword. They claim to be inclusive, yet they decide to censor somebody's opinion just because one specific group of people don't agree with it. And the fact that they are so actively involved in politics, and they say, "Oh, we want to keep our games inclusive, and we want to make people feel welcomed." Yet you rather go into politics, bash people that have different views than you, and then choose to censor people that don't agree with your opinion. Yeah, totally. You totally agree with people's opinion. No, you don't. And it's sad that a lot of these companies are caving in to the Chinese dollar. All they care about is getting that Chinese dollar and getting all those Chinese consumers to buy their products and play their games. And I understand. The Chinese market for gaming is huge. I understand. There's a lot of people there. There's a lot of money to spend. And there's a lot of advertising money that comes from the Chinese. I get that. I'm not dumb. But this is where there should have been clear rules in place, because then, like, Tencent, they can't get mad because, you know, like, the rule, like, they would have just said, look, you broke your rule. Like, you know, we want you to follow through with your rule. That was your policy. The fact that there was no clear rule in place and that it was just so loosely used is jarring. And I like how some people are saying that, oh, but in the post they said that they have rules in place. No, look at the actual rules. You'll see what I mean. There is no clear rule in place for that. It is a very loosely interpreted rule. Like, I hope you understand. Like, they're BSing through their mouth, right? Like, there's BS coming out of their mouth because there is no clear rule in place. It's pure unadulterated BS. There is no clear rule in place. And to me, it's disgusting that Blizzard went down this route. They overreacted. They chose to side with their bottom line over their player, and it's disgusting. And to be honest, like I said, it's hypocritical. And the same thing goes with, like, the NBA and what they're doing. Like, it's disgusting. Like, really? Like, you're calling somebody uninformed because he's standing up for what arguably is considered the right thing, which is the liberty and sovereignty of the people of Hong Kong? That's called being uninformed? Really, LeBron? Really? Like, this is what I tell people. Don't get involved in politics. Do not, under any circumstances, get involved. Like, I get it. I understand. It's a very important thing. Very important. But the reality is, don't get caught up with all the drama that comes with it, because politics is a very nasty, dangerous game to play. It is very disgusting on how ugly it can get. All it does is divide people. It causes tension where there shouldn't be tension. And it just causes people to feel like, oh, we're different. We have differing viewpoints. No. We are all human. We are all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all have flaws. And we should all care about each other and be willing to tolerate one another. Like, just because somebody has a different view from you doesn't mean that you should, you know, just go into their face and say, oh, you're so wrong. You're always wrong. No, that's not healthy. That doesn't provide anything useful to the conversation. Like, it doesn't help that, especially in the United States. Yeah, I get it. Our political scene is it's an interesting thing. I'll say that for the least, because I don't want to get involved in that stuff. But it's just so sad how this whole politics game is now ruining our entertainment of gaming. And I highly agree with anybody. If you want to boycott Blizzard, boycott them. There's plenty of alternatives to their games. Like, you don't want to play Overwatch? Go play Team Fortress 2 or go play something like Paladins. I personally like Paladins more now. But, like, to me, it's crazy that they're doing all this, that Blizzard decided to cave in and, you know, they bended the knee. And it's depressing that they just threw their player base under the bus because they're like, if you have any opinion that doesn't agree with our Chinese backers, we're going to censor you because it's considered hurtful. It's considered abusive. It's not inclusive. It's like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's such a double standard, and it's so riddled with hypocrisy from Blizzard's part. It's pure, unadulterated hypocrisy from Blizzard. There's no way around it. And I get it. I know this is a politically charged situation. I understand that perfectly fine. I understand that. And I know the ramifications that come with this. I know what the ramifications are. But I just couldn't sit back and, you know, watch it. I just couldn't. To me, it's so wrong. There's no way around it. It's wrong. And I only pray and hope that, you know, that we come to the realization that, you know, are we trading our morals for money? Like, are we so obsessed with, you know, just chasing the bag and just throwing our morals out the window? That's the question. Are we just so obsessed with chasing the bag that we don't care about our morals? We don't care about, caring for others, that we don't care about respecting other people's opinions, that we go down this rabbit hole of not loving each other. Like, I tell people this all the time. Money is not the root of all evil. It is the love of money that is the root of all evil. And granted, I think there's more to it based on my personal beliefs, but that money's not evil. It's a tool. But if you start loving it more than anything, it becomes a really dangerous thing. And to me, it's sad that Blizzard went down this route, and I just, they're going to get what comes to them. They're going to see boycotts. They're going to see their games, player base decline, revenue will decline. BlizzCon is going to be funny to watch. And, they had this coming. They were the ones that chose to make this rational decision. Or rash decision. I'm not going to use rational. What's wrong with me? Rash. This rash decision. And, they get what's coming to them. So, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I know it was a very politically charged episode. I obviously was out of my comfort zone for this episode. I hope you guys understand that. I'm just not comfortable talking about politics. I'm not. But I understand that the situation is very involved in politics, and that, I had to put my foot down at least once. And like I said, I don't believe politics should be involved in gaming. I think gaming should just stay to entertainment, and I hope you guys, whether you feel that way, agree with me, or you don't, that's fine. I respect your opinion, but that's how I feel, that politics should have nowhere in gaming. I hope you guys enjoy. I love you guys to death. I'll see you guys soon, and depending on the time of this recording, there's something special going on, so keep an eye on Twitter. So, I love you guys to death. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.